In this lesson, we'll learn how to simulate the truck body. We've already cached out our roll cage animation and we've transferred that over to our locator. So now we can attach individual parts that we want to simulate for the truck and to get the damage that we're looking for. Okay, and I'm just going to switch here just so we see we've got our roll cage flying through there. And I've already imported the truck tires. I'm not going to simulate those. And we just have those as a child object of our locator. And just bringing up here our hypershade so we can see. Okay, and we'll just expand this here and you can see there's all of my individual tires there and just a parent-child relationship. My next step is to import my truck body. So we'll go to my truck parts here and just load up the body. Okay, and when it comes in, it doesn't match the roll cage, obviously, because the roll cage has animation on it and it was positioned previously. Our truck body is in its position that it was modeled in, so we just want to copy over the values that we have here over to the truck body. Okay, now we can do this easily by just selecting that roll cage, the object that has our values, and then our target object, and go to Edit, Transfer Attribute Values, and we're going to open those tool options, and we just want to make sure that From Channel Box is checked, and I'll go in and select all of the channels that I'm after there, and then that's going to be my Translate and my Rotate, and we'll choose Apply and Close. Okay, and now that's going to snap my truck body to my roll cage, and essentially it's just copying over those attributes. Now I have made a shortcut up here because when I bring in other parts, I can just click on this and transfer those values quickly. Okay, now that I have my truck body in, I need to convert it over to an nCloth. So we'll create nCloth, and as an nCloth, we now want to transfer or assign our preset that we created previously. So we'll just choose presets and we'll assign our car metal preset to replace all of the attributes that we have there. Okay, and so that makes sure that we have our self-collide turned on, self-collide with scale of 5, stretch resistance there of 200, and that restitution angle of 6, which allows for that deformation to happen and for the surface to not return back to its original shape. Okay, then we have our input mesh attract and our input motion drag. Okay, now those two are really key. The motion drag is really key. So we have our simulation here, and I'm going to go back to those in a second, but I just wanted to go to my nucleus, and let's just make sure that that is turned on. Okay, and if I hit play right now, okay, and I'm going to go turn off self-collide just so this moves a little bit faster so we can see what's happening here. So I'll hit play. Okay, and we just see that our roll cage basically just takes off. Okay, now it's really not updating, nothing much simulated there, so let's just take it back and go back to frame 1. A lot of times Maya will do this where we hit play just after we assign our nCloth attributes and the nucleus solver hasn't caught up. It doesn't update just yet. So once we play, go back to frame 1 and hit play again. Now you can see that it is definitely trying to simulate. Okay, going a lot slower this time. But notice my truck. So the cage is actually starting to move. Okay, but the truck body is remaining in place. Okay, this is because what we need to do is make that body a child of the locator. So let's open up that hypergraph. Okay, and with the body selected, just going to shift select there and do parent and make that a child of the locator. Now the nCloth object itself, or the nCloth node, this is only holding my material attributes. I do not need to parent this. This can stay off to the side. We don't really care so much about it. Okay, but the main one that needs to happen here is this node right here, the body shape. This is my input mesh. Okay, this is the original surface. This one cares what it's parented to. So by making this entire network here, this body network, a child of the locator, that means that this body shape will then follow it. The output is the actual deforming surface. It does not care if it's a child of another object. It's under the control of the nucleus solver. Okay? But in our nCloth attributes, we're telling it to follow the motion of the input, okay, which is going to be this guy right here, which is then following the locator. Okay? So it's really this input motion drag that is allowing it to follow along here. And so now let's hit play now that it is a child. Okay, and now we can see that the truck body is indeed following along with that roll cage, but we know it's really just going with the locator there. Okay, so that's functional and that's working. Let's just take that back to 1. Okay, and that piece is ready to go. Now, the truck isn't very finished here. We've got lots of other parts that we want to add to this. I'm going to go ahead and just bring in one more piece. And let's import, let's do the hood. And we'll go up a directory, see if we can find this piece here. Way too many pieces and parts. There we go. Okay, and the hood pops in there, down there on the ground. So we have the same problem. We're going to want to transfer the values. So I'm going to grab that roll cage, select my hood, and then I'll just use my hotkey there, or my up in my shelf. Okay, just to position that properly. Now the hood, we want to do the same thing. So let's first convert it to nCloth. Then we'll go in and assign our car metal material. And I'll go through my hypergraph, or we could use the outliner, whichever, and we want to make this a child of that locator. Okay, now that's going to keep it there, and that input motion drag is going to drag it along, but that's not going to lock it to the body itself. So if the body receives deformation along this section right here, the hood is not going to follow with it. So we want to make that happen. Okay, and just like we kind of looked at previously, we're going to add a point to surface constraint. Okay, before I think we added a transform constraint just to make our life a little bit easier. Okay, this time I'm going to add that point to surface. So I will select all the vertices just on the back row there and hold Shift and select the body and choose End Constraint and choose Point to Surface. Okay, and now that gives me my constraint. The defaults for the point to surface constraint work for us just fine. So I'm going to leave those exactly as they are. I don't need to make any modifications. Okay, so that makes my life easier there. Okay, next step is that I would want to import some other pieces and parts. We've got the tailgate, we've got the bed cover, the roof rack, and even the front bumper. It's going to be the same process. We're going to bring that in, select the vertices, and attach it to the body as a point to surface constraint. Basically, rinse and repeat for all of those pieces and parts. I've already got those together, so I'm just going to jump ahead here, and let's go and open our truck parts here. Okay, and we can see that those are now in, and we have point to surface constraints on each of those pieces. We'll go around to the back. Okay, and all of them, I'm just selecting an edge loop, converting that edge loop over to vertices. Okay, maybe expanding it like the bed cover here. I've got 3 rows that I'm actually doing a point to surface constraint on there. I think the tailgate is 2 rows. Okay, yeah, 2 rows of vertices there. Okay, not going to make a huge difference, and it's really just kind of common sense. We're just attaching those exactly where they would be in the real world. Okay, so that roof rack, just a point to surface constraint going around the entire border of that. Okay, with all of those parts attached, I'll then select them all. Okay, and go to nCache, create new cache, and we'll open those tool options. Okay, and we'll give it a cache name, although we're not really going to need to because I'm going to choose one file per object. Okay, and that way it's going to give me a cache for each of those individually. Okay, and I would choose create. Now I've already cached those out. Okay, caching all of this took, I would say, probably about 30 hours in order to cache all of these all at once. Okay, but let's take a look here, and we'll switch over to our camera. And let's make it a little bit prettier here. We'll turn off some of this junk. Okay, and we'll hit play. Okay, and we can see, boom, our truck goes flying. Okay, and pretty banged up and dented as it hits the end there. And let's just go down. Let's select an object and we'll get a little bit closer look at it. There we go. Okay, and so we got some pretty good damage here. Some I like, some I don't. I think the bumper here, that's probably a little too much. Most bumpers are designed to resist some of that damage. So maybe we'll look at that a little bit later. All right, that concludes our video here. So that's a look at simulating the truck body.